Welcome back, everybody. Here we are for some more chess matches, and this match is a fun one. This match is something that would probably never happen to me in real life because I wouldn't have the balls to go for it. So let's just get right down to business here. I'm going to lead off pretty standard. He responds, mirrors it out. I go horse, he goes this thing. And I kind of decided, you know what, I'm sick of Roy Lopez. I don't want to do it anymore. Today, I guess. I'm going to do... Well, plus, there's no horse there, so I really can't. But this would just be a bad move anyway with the bishop. So I'm just like, let's go here. And then he's like, no, here's a curveball. Here's a real curveball. Very unusual. Playing from white side, King's Gambit. Queen's Gambit's obviously very common. You lead with this, they match it, and then you go with the Queen's flank pawn on the other side. Very, very, very common opening. King's Gambit used to be very common, hundreds of years ago when we were bad at chess as human beings, where it starts off as they match it, and then you open up your King's flank pawn over there in hopes that they take it, and then you just, in theory, increase your speed and development, and you get attacks faster than they can defend them. It's been kind of proven that King's Gambit these days sucks, so it's interesting that he's not only sort of doing the same kind of thing, but from the opposite color, when there's already stuff going on. It's interesting. So I don't really want to take it, because it gives him tempo with the bishops, and it also reduces my position on the board a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of defend my pawn up here, and no big deal. And then he comes up with this thing. So I'm thinking, okay, he's got plans of maybe just going nuts toward my horse and my king side. If he wants, there we go, that looks better. If he wants to do something like that, attacking my horse, I don't know, maybe he's just thinking he's going to go there, and both of my bishops then become really, really bad, and all they can do is move to these one spots, which I personally am not really a huge fan of, because then you have to move them again to be useful. You're kind of giving up tempo on your own for free. And it just gets really cluttered if he wants to push that up one more time. But at the same time, I don't want to take it and give him tempo, and then all of a sudden I'm losing. But this bishop obviously already really sucks. I could go there for now, but no. So I'm kind of thinking, well, this actually really kind of blows. I don't really like anything I have. Sure, move horse up to free bishop up, but he'll just make him run away, and then make him run away again, and then I've got nothing, and it just looks ugly. So I got to thinking, and I'm like, alright, there's a reason we never move these f-pawns. It's called the f-pawn because it's supposed to be frick no, don't move me. Because it opens up that line to your king for bishops and other sneaky little people to get into, like queens. So I'm thinking, okay, this is open. How can I exploit this? If he's going to make mistakes, I know it's a mistake. I know this isn't a good push, but I don't really... Let's see if we can figure out why. What can I do about it? So I'm like, okay, well, because he did this, it opens up that. And why is this good? Well, we got to think about it. He can't just block it with the pawn. I take the pawn. Okay. He wouldn't be able to move there. He can't put any other pieces in the way, at least not yet. And so he's forced to move his king, so he loses his castle. Like, okay, well, that's cool. And then I guess it really just depends what there. First, the horse is in the way, though. And I really want to make this happen. I really want to try and make him pay for this. But the horse is in the way. Horse can't go there. Horse can't go there. The queen takes it. Horse is sure as hell not going back there. Horse could go here, but then it blocks me in, which I'm trying to avoid. Horse can't go there. You know what? Horse can go there. Horse can go there. He can take a pawn and then die. That's I don't know. It just looked like this would be an interesting freaking video, so let's do it. Horse goes there. Horse takes sacrificial pawn. Apparently the computer likes it too, a little bit at least. The computer doesn't hate it. So let's see. He takes horse. Computer still doesn't hate it. Alright, let's make the magic happen, boys. What is he gonna do? So he's got he's got two spots. I guess I kinda have to figure these out on the fly. If he chooses to go on well, let's look at that one later. If he chooses to go here, how would I really capitalize on it? Maybe I could bring the bishop over, put him in check, force him to take it, and then I take the rook. is that worth it at that point? Because then I've taken a pawn and a rook, but I've given up a horse and a bishop, and I've really messed up his position. So maybe it's worth it. He would have 3 pawns out right here, which is actually kind of interesting at that point. So I don't know. It's an interesting thought. If he goes there, well, maybe I can use my horse to put him in check, and then he's got 3 more squares he can go from there. If my horse is there, and remember these squares are guarded by the pawn, so my horse will be okay. And if he goes from his king onto one of these 2 light squares, I could take this pawn, I suppose, put him in check again, but then I give him a discovered attack on me, to which, who knows, I guess I could just take this 3rd pawn from that. So it's interesting. There's more things to do. I don't quite know exactly yet. It does give me an attack on here, but maybe that's not going to help me out. We'll see. He ends up not going that way. So he goes to the light square. So I'm thinking, well, okay, I still have this, but it gives him a discovered attack, but I do take a pawn for it. So if I go here and put him in check, where is he going to go at that point? Would he want to go right back? That just seems backward. I don't think he'd go right back. Would he go right there? What does that really do for him? I'm not sure, because then I still have both pieces at that point that I could move on up, put him back in check. Would he really just start walking all the way down in this open space? Is he searching for Pokemon? I don't know. What is this? If he goes here, does that benefit him at all? I don't think either one of those really benefits him. So I'm just going to take this pawn and give him that discovered attack, but I figure I'll probably be able to do something about it. I don't see anything immediately where I'm like, well, this is a bad move for it. And he does just hop all the way right back to where he started. You realize he can't castle even though it's in the same position because it's moved. I do have to respond now to the discovered attack, but hey, look, there's a juicy pawn sitting right here. That's great. So for all of this, I sacrificed a horse, and I took 3 pawns, and I messed up his castle. And this is kind of, it's not bad, but it's a little bit unusual. It's an awkward position a little bit. Technically, I guess it hampers his knight, but that's irrelevant mostly. Without being able to castle, his rook doesn't have a great way of getting out into play. So I guess that's worth it for a knight. If he were to move his queen up here, I could see myself taking that trade, and then he ends up with a bishop on this spot. I have a horse over here. I have position. I've got a little bit more of the board. You know, my guy can now come out a little bit. I can push that pawn. I wouldn't be able to push that. But yeah, I would, because the queen wouldn't be here. To free up the light squared bishop, he can't castle, so he's kind of hampered. I'd be okay with that, I think. It doesn't seem terrible, but he ends up not doing that. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe there was something else, if we look a little bit harder, we can find. I'm just trying to kind of go through the multiple options. One thing that was always big for me in chess is they say, oh, you know, play better people and you'll get better. I'm like, well, hold on. When they're too much better, I don't learn because I don't understand the moves. So me personally, my videos, they take a little while because I go through all the moves like that, but that's how it helps me learn. That's what gets me better, is seeing, well, here's what did happen, but here's why they did this, because other option A, B, and C can be responded to in these ways, and those are inferior, and walk through those steps. That's what I'm trying to do, really, is kind of look at what the other options are and why somebody may want to do so or why they did not want to do so. He chose not to do so, and that makes me realize that I've got quite an attack here. I could have taken this pawn, which would have given me 4 pawns for the horse, but I wanted more. I felt like this was a little bit of a mistake. And whenever somebody makes a mistake, like, you kind of go through in your head these plans, like, well, if I go here, he goes here, I go here, he goes here, and you know they're going to try and equalize everything, and this and that. So when they do something that you don't expect, you're thinking it's either a really good move that you didn't see, or it's a mistake and there's something better you should be able to do, because they're no longer able to respond in the way you expected. So I'm trying to search for more at this point, and I think by moving my horse up here and putting double pressure on this pawn, going after his pieces with the fork, I feel like just taking that one turn to do that, spend some time, I won't lose this pawn over here anyway. So I don't think it's bad, and it gives me something more scary stuff. Maybe I can get some more out of it than just another pawn. He brings his horse out to attack my queen, and this is interesting. As we see here, the computer really thinks I got something good going on. What the computer sees and what I did not see is that horse needs to go here. It forks him and puts him in check. And you're thinking, well, okay, you know, he can either... Well, he wouldn't want to take it with the queen because then I take his queen, and that's obviously bad. His only other option at that point is moving his king here, and, well, what can my queen do? I can't benefit if my queen, you know, goes here to put him in check. So what? He develops his horse. I don't really have a good way of dealing with it, and that's all I saw. So I figured, well, if he moves there, then I just take his rook, and, you know, that's fantastic. And then I lose my queen. So it's not that fantastic. I have to move that queen somewhere, and I didn't see a good spot to move my queen at that point. So I figured if I take it with the queen, and he trades queens, maybe then I can get this fork going, and then I can get the best of both worlds, in addition to another pawn. So... that's what I saw. I figured, worst case, I come here, he's not going to trade queens, because that sucks for him, so I get a fourth pawn. I figured, that way, I get one of these two guys. I could have taken him earlier, but I'd rather take this one, I think. It's a little bit more centralized, I guess. And that way, I leave him with just two shitty pawns at each end. The two furthest pawns are the toughest to promote. They're not very good in terms of endgame stuff. They're more just to honestly support the third pawn and you know, be good spots for knights and bishops to sit off of. Really, that's pretty much it. So I figured this pawn's a little bit better for me to take, and that way I go up, and then poof, you see this go from +9 to +1. So clearly that was bad. But why was that bad? Let's go through. See, I told you that I didn't see anything with my queen to do, but if I were to go here, obviously he doesn't want to take, I take his queen. If he responds, I didn't see that. I did not see the fork of the two super major pieces, which wins the queen entirely. I still lose my queen, though. Maybe, no, because he would have to move here or here. Let's see, if he moved there, how could maybe I could go here to put him in check? Yeah, I could go here to put him in check while still guarding my horse. Force him to go somewhere, and then I take his queen after that? Okay, so yeah, I do take his queen safely. And that's what I should have done, and I didn't see it. So instead I opted... Oops, doop. There we go. So instead I opted to go there, take the fourth pawn, and he's finally got some time to do something. This whole game he's been in check. Now he's got time to do things. So he develops a piece, thinking, all right, he'll, you know, helps free his rook up. He'll go after my pieces a little bit. If he can get rid of this guy, then he can take my queen. So maybe I'll make a mistake. That's cool. I could, you know, put him in check here. You know, give him an option as far as which piece to take it with, and then, you know, either run my queen away or take his queen, depending on how I feel. And I figured, you know what? I'm up 4 pawns to a horse. His position is ugly and messed up and really cramped. Mine's not that fantastic per se. I am blocking in my light square bishop, but that's an easy fix. My dark square bishop is now a little bit better. And then hell, maybe I'll just queenside castle. But I decided that 4 pawns in a messed up position, he can't castle. Let's just take the horse. I thought I took the queen. No, I really did. I thought I took the queen first. I take the queen second. Alright, so either way, I guess it kind of worked out. I didn't know which order he would take them in. He had a couple options to take each piece. And I don't think this was the best way, because now not only did he go backwards, he also blocked himself in. So I think that was suboptimal. He also isolated these pawns. So none of those were really all that fantastic. And at the end of the day, after all of those shenanigans, after that fun little horse sacrifice where I didn't really have any idea what was going to happen, but I knew I could get a check and maybe make something happen, that's the end result. I got 4 pawns for my horse, and I really made his position ugly. So, success? I'd say so. I'd say it's a success. Computer says I'm plus 1.1. Well, one of it is the 4 pawns to the 1 horse, and one of it, I guess, is the position. So, there you go. Now it's time to start playing. I'm really surprised I didn't push this pawn first. I think that would have been the better play. It would have shut down this horse, and it would have freed up more squares for my bishop. So I think that was the correct move. But I guess I was just excited and wanted to castle to make myself safe. Maybe I thought that this would be good so I can start trading pieces away, or maybe I wanted to get more stuff on here for more checks just to be funny. I don't really know. I think the pawn was the better play. And as we see, he immediately uses said horse, and I'm like, well, I could have shut that down, but I didn't. Oh well. But what I do see is that now I get a nice little tempo boost. I can attack his horse, and that's great. He defends it. That's also great. Kind of expected. Something interesting here, though. He's got a good play. If he comes down here with the horse, I could take it, but then he can take my bishop. So I lose a little bit in that regard. I mess up this kind of position. I double up, isolate the end pawn, block in this bishop royally. Well, actually, no, I probably would just take with this bishop instead, so never mind. So I guess it depends if he wanted to try and make that sort of trade, because he does actually have an extra piece right now. He's got 3 minor pieces, I have 2 minor pieces. So I'm not sure if trading pieces benefits me more or him. If it comes down to a piece and 4 pawns, that's advantage me, but with extra pieces on the field, I don't think that advantage is as big yet. So I do want to be a little leery of this square. I don't really want to feel like I want to trade pieces just yet. So I decide that the best way for me to avoid that is just castle on the queen side. He's got all his guys angling somewhere else. This guy's blocked in. So these pieces don't seem bad at all. They're nice and safe. And then that way I can just have these 4 pawns all rush his isolated, messed up, broken king side. I'm like, that seems fine to me. So that's kind of my plan, is just bum rush on the king side now. And now he goes after here, trying to attack an unprotected pawn. I could probably just push it up. I could probably just take this guy. I could even just push him up here and put lots of extra pressure while shutting down the line. Lots of good things I could do, and that's what I end up choosing to do. I should have done that earlier, but at least now it does free up this bishop. It puts a couple extra attacks on this horse, who doesn't really have great spots. In fact, he's got no spots, because if you can get a bishop 3 squares away from a horse, he's completely shut down, or at least positively. He can go backwards, but that's not always a good thing. So that's where I opt to choose. He's forced to run backwards. I'm A-okay with that. But it does leave me a dilemma. Now he's got a couple of things attacking this guy, and if I push, I'm going to lose a piece. So I guess I have to spend some time defending him now. Or I can just pin your horse, buddy. So that's good. Now your horse is stuck. He's probably just going to go right over here, is my assumption, but he doesn't. He goes to attack my bishop instead. And I really should have taken the horse. I wasn't ready to trade pieces because I just didn't feel comfortable, but I really should have. It would have given him 4 isolated pawns on these 4 squares, which would just be absolutely ugly. They're just unable to really support any sort of defense at that point, and the trading of pieces doesn't actually hurt me. I didn't feel comfortable because it's an unusual situation, 4 pawns to a minor piece like this. And so I just wasn't sure. At the end of the day, it is advantageous, obviously, to have the 4-pawn advantage like I do right now. So it's not a downside. I really should have taken it, but I didn't. I was just scared, honestly. That's all it was. So I back up. I let him defend it, and well, that's a bummer. So I end up having now to defend this pawn over here with my other pawn. I'm not terribly upset about it. I don't feel like it really weakens me or opens me that much. His light square bishop is really just playing guard duty for right now. I don't think he's going to have much of a chance to activate on these squares and give me any misery for opening this file up. This is essentially equivalent to the F file now, the one where I said you don't freak and move it, since I castled on the queen side. So it's whatever. Plus, I mean, it looks kind of nice. It looks cool. It looks like I'm doing square roots or something. So he continues to run his horse away. He's trying to activate his pieces. I think he wants to potentially free this up and maybe do something. Nothing's really going to happen here, but when you see open files like this, you want to put rooks on them because eventually it will be good, just not yet. So maybe he's thinking that. Maybe he's thinking, come over there and attack my bishop. That's a lot of work just to attack my bishop that I can move. I don't know. So I run my bishop back one more time, because I'm afraid of the trade. I didn't want to do it yet. I don't know why. I mean, if I go here, he moves his king up. I guess it slightly improves his position. It connects the rooks a little bit. I just wasn't ready. He does in fact bounce back here and attack my bishop, so don't want that to happen. I'm going to put it in this nice square. Again, it's 3 squares away from the knight, so I'm blocking off some of his best squares. And then this square just really sucks. So his knight doesn't have anything good to do whatsoever. His king can't push in to attack my bishop. His rooks can't get over there. His other bishop can't really attack it. So it's just a nice little spot, actually. Even though it's completely undefended, he's just sitting there. It's actually pretty good. A little bunker of nothing. He moves his rook over. No big deal. I move my pawn up just to kind of block his bishop in, give him nothing to do. It's really just kind of playing a waiting game. I don't have any coordinated attacks because I spent all my time just messing up his position and getting those pawns. Likewise, he doesn't really have any attacks or defense either. My plan is kind of just, well, I will slowly push these pawns until something works, until you can't cover all of those squares, because it's going to be a lot of squares with, you know, some piece support in there, and eventually something will work. That's kind of all I'm thinking. So this is just part of that slow process, you know. These 2 pawns are going to get pushed up next. They're going to have rooks supporting them, and bishops to kind of take away some pieces, and that's really where I'm going with it. So now he finally gets a piece attacking on this guy, and no big deal. I'll run him all the way back in this nice little home that I made for him. I still shut out some of the knight squares. It's not as good, but honestly, these 3 squares suck anyway, so I don't really care if he goes into them or not. Excuse me, sorry, don't know where that came from. And as we've seen in past games, when bishops are all the way on the edge like that, sometimes they can be forgotten, and maybe he'll come back later. We'll see. Moves his king over. I think he just wants to get his rook on this file. I don't know. It's tough at this point. I don't really see anything for him to think of, and I don't really see anything for me. I'm just kind of making slow improvements. So I'm pushing up all my pawns now, trying to make some progress here. And he's continuing to run his king. I guess he's trying to get him over to safety. Well, you can't. My bishop's got those 2 squares guarded, so I still really don't know. I mean, what was so unsafe about that square at this time? Maybe he's worried that I'm going to push this pawn, but after he moves his rook, I have to deal something with this. So I want to move this guy first, I think, which I do. So now maybe I can push this pawn, and maybe he was worried that I had a king on the line, or I don't really know exactly how it was working, but so I push up to get some extra pressure over here, and I want to start going after this horse since it doesn't have great squares to go to, and then just slowly kind of come after these pieces and after these pawns. He does retreat though to pin this pawn to my bishop, so if I do push it, I lose the bishop. Well, not really, the rook is guarding it, but it would still be annoying because so far I haven't actually traded a piece yet. I've been trying to keep them. Hasn't always benefited me, but that's just been the way I've been looking at it. And maybe I still should have done it. Once again, maybe I probably should have, but I don't. I decide at the end of the day that, you know, I'm going to push this one instead. Go through the middle, break up your pawns a little bit, and then I'm just going to get a nice longer pawn chain and keep all this extra defense here. I just wasn't ready to, I don't know, especially because with my bishop being down here, his is probably a better bishop at that point. I just didn't want to trade. Meh, whatever. So I push up, he trades, and I kid you not, I thought about this move for like forever. Which pawn do I take it with? You know, do I get a more centralized pawn, and you know, a more advanced chain per se? Plus, then I've got this chain creeping up at his actual pieces and his actual king, or do I want 4 pawns up here against a completely empty board that might be easier for them to push through? Plus, it opens up this file for my rook. And I decided to go that route. I wanted the 4 pawns against his 1 side pawn, and that's not really going to help him against an empty board, so it should be easier for one of them to promote, I think, and it gives me an empty file. Oops, gives me an empty file with the rook. That was the thought. That's what I ended up doing. So now he's just activating his pieces, trying to go after my weakest ones. He's now got 2 guys aiming after it. I've only got 1 guy defending it, so I need to fix that. No big deal. He moves this rook up mostly just to free up the bishop, but at the time I was like, I don't know, maybe you think that if you're going after this guy and you get rid of him, then he's undefended, you can get rid of him then, I guess? I'm not sure. So I didn't really know how to respond, so I decided I'll just attack your horse. But what he was doing with that was freeing his bishop so he could remove my rook from that square, hoping that maybe it can relieve some defense on that pawn so he can take it. And by doing this, my rooks are no longer connected, they're no longer able to defend each other. So he's allowed to then take said pawn, and if I take his horse back, he takes my rook. They're no longer friends. So that's actually really bad. Therefore, I can't take his horse. So he gained back one of those pawns, which technically makes the game equal this whole time. So I'm kind of thinking about it like, crap, I just really screwed up. You know, I sacrificed a piece, and I ended up earning 4 pawns over it, and then I've been kind of moving around a little bit with no plan. But now that he's taken that pawn, we're equal in points. You know, I've got some extra pawns, but he's got an extra piece for it. It's like, I don't really know how I feel about that now. So I'm thinking, you know, what can I do? It's still a precarious position. You know, his knight still doesn't exactly have any good squares to run away to, so I need to figure out some way to make this safe where that can still become a threat. And I figure, oh, piece of cake, I'll just put him in check, and now the bishop really just replaces, you know, this pawn if it leaves, as far as blocking off where the rook is, and they're, you know, bishops and pawns work perfectly in diagonal tandem like that. And because of the check, it gives me all the time in the world that I need to take that pawn. So I'm like, hey, that's fantastic. So I do that, put him in check, take the horse. He then takes the pawn, and I decide at this point now I do want to make all the trades that I can, now that I have taken a pawn for a horse after all. So I lose another pawn for it. So we went from 4 pawns to a piece to making the swap again, but then losing another pawn. So it's really kind of awkward. But at this point now we both have 3 pieces, and they're equal pieces. And I'm essentially, well, actually literally just up 2 pawns at the end of the day. You know, we both did a downsize exchange, and then I took a couple extra pawns, and then I messed up and threw away a couple of pawns, but I'm still up. So that's where we are at this point. He's got a couple of guys bearing down on him, but because of the pawn defense, no big deal. And I just need to figure something out. Hey, you look weak. I'm going to attack you. And maybe I was thinking maybe he could defend it by throwing his rook out into the corner and do nothing. I don't know, whatever. He decides to line him up, try and get some sort of attack going. I guess if he comes down there, I'm forced to retreat to one of those, and maybe he can go after these pawns, perhaps, is what he's looking at. Maybe he's thinking that if he puts his bishop down here and then comes after, I'm stuck going here. I don't, no, because then I'm attacking. I don't know. I didn't feel like it was enough of a threat. I was like, okay, obviously there's some attacks that can come, but I didn't feel like I was going to lose anything. So I'm like, nope, I'm just going to take that extra pawn. I just didn't feel threatened. So he puts his bishop here. Okay, so that's safer than putting it there. I guess same kind of concept. So he cuts off this square. But again, if he goes here, I still have this guy. I don't really know what he does. Maybe he tries to go there to attack. No, because he's defending. Maybe he tries to go there, but then I can just push him, and this pawn's defending him. So I'm not. It's whatever. I just didn't really feel that threatened about it. But I figured if he sees something and that's what he's trying to do, let's at least mess him up. Let's just stop it from happening and make him try something else. You know, I'll give him a little detour, make him accomplish his plan just a little bit slower, make him run away. I don't know. I didn't feel like there was much there, but if I could stop it, I may as well should stop it. Somewhere along the lines, I haven't actually been watching. The computer thinks I should be up significantly more, so I wonder if during all this time I'm missing something. Because I'm just playing very slow, very turtly, and that's really all we're doing. This move was just to get my rook adjacent to my king, so that if he wanted to do any attacks, I can just drop it right on down and force a trade, which is exactly what I do, which at this point I'm happy with. Now I'm up 2 pawns, and the more I can simplify now, the better that's going to be for me. He proceeds to do a random check. It's not quite sure what you're really hoping to accomplish with it. He just wanted to slowly move over. So now he's going to try and start attacking this little guy. His rook can't quite get there just yet, so I'm not terribly afraid. I do have a piece defending on it as well, and if I start pushing this pawn up, then my bishop is actually guarding the pawn as well. So he's trying everything he can. There's just not enough there right now, and I figure if he does come all the way down there to put me in check, to get my king away from this square so he can go after that pawn, it actually frees up that pawn in response too. So he's kind of going after 2 pawns in this case. So I figure I'll just push it, I'll block some of your space, and I won't have to worry about that as much. So that's exactly what he does. I no longer lose that pawn. It takes him an extra turn now to go up here and get him. and I don't lose anything in the process, which is exactly how he responds. And then this, I kind of did have to give up one of them at that point. Maybe I miscalculated a little bit. Maybe I just felt like it was okay, or that it didn't matter, or maybe I just didn't see it, or maybe I saw something else and thought that I could counteract it better. Maybe this was just a bad play. But at this point now, it looks like he does actually have the shot on 2 pawns. So I have to figure now which pawn do I care more about. These 2 guys are both, passed pawns at this point. There's nothing on this half of the field that can take them back. So they've got a really good chance of promoting. Plus they're both guarded. Whereas this pawn's not quite as valuable, but I do want to keep a pawn advantage over here, 3-2. It also gives me just a little bit more chance of having them help defend my king and block some lines. So that's what I ended up choosing. I ended up choosing this pawn over here to defend that, as opposed to just pushing this guy to defend him. But he didn't take this. That whole time I was worried about him taking one of these 2 pawns, and he didn't do either. So what he was doing was cutting off my flight square for my king. If he gets some checks over here and I kind of run out of space, I won't be able to flee anywhere. But his rook alone with a light squared bishop can't checkmate me over here. It would be really difficult for him to get his bishop down to there, from there, and then get his rook all the way over. It's not going to happen. It'd be way too much work. It would never get there. Especially with my bishop on that line. So cutting off this flight square was just not well timed. He should have taken that guy. He didn't. So that gives me a chance now to push him and save him. And finally, after like 20 turns of just kind of being lazy and bouncing around, accomplishing nothing, we're finally going to start making progress and actually winning this game now that the board is cleared up and I have my head on straight. So he goes after this guy, trying to attack it. It's really to no avail, because for the moment all this stuff is still guarded, so I don't really care. I'm going to keep pushing him. He moves his king over. I have to move my rook. I may as well attack yours with mine defended. If I can get him to make that trade, that's fine. But really, I just need him out of the way so I could keep pushing. He opts not to do so. He's getting some attacks on this guy, but that's fine. If you want to make those trades, I don't think that hurts me per se at this point. Maybe it does, but just to be safe, I'll defend it, so that way you can't. So both of your pieces are now tied up trying to attack something that they can't break through on, and that's literally all you have. So my advantages of taking all those pawns are finally paying off. He's moving his rook. I don't know why he's moving his rook. That's just what he's doing. I continue to push. He's now going after him. See, was he here? I thought he was there. No, because I would have been checked there. Okay, so that's what he's doing. He's trying to bounce around. Why didn't you just put me in, do it from, oops. Why didn't you just go there and put me in check in the meantime and then go here instead? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. He's trying to go after that passed pawn that's about to promote the only way he can. And now it's just 1 square away from queening. He just barely gets his time in there to free up the attack on it. And just like how I mentioned earlier, if I wanted to defend this pawn, I could actually do so by pushing this one and getting a discovered defense. I can do the same thing right here. I need, not only do I need the pawn defended, but I need this queening square defended as well. So yeah, I can push the rook, put him in check and defend this pawn and maybe do some other stuff. But better yet, since I need that square defended, if I just push it all the way up, now what's he do? He can't take it because I kill him. He can't let it do nothing because it promotes, and then I get a queen, to which then he has to take, but I take it back. So then he's trading a rook for a pawn. So then he's down a rook and 2 pawns. One of them will promote. It's game over. That's really all there was to it. He actually forfeited right there, so I don't even have any other moves. He just doesn't have anything else. So that'll be the game, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Sorry for rambling on. There wasn't really that much here for 34 minutes, but I at least like to kind of explain what's going on and why and what else could have been done to see if anything might have been superior. So I did miss a couple of moves with the horse check and the fork to steal his queen. I did miss that. And then I made a couple minor mistakes giving up some pawns, but I was at least able to stave it off and win it back. So thank you guys all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys for future ones. Take it easy, everybody. Catch you later. Peace.